Where's the crash site now?
Over there. We're getting closer.
Hello there, Sir from 17 once again, bringing you Chapter 2 in my Enslaved hard difficulty video walkthrough. And this one is the Old City. And at the very beginning here, you're going to be introduced to the concept that if you go a certain distance from Tripp while wearing the headband in the early parts of the game, you will die. Your screen starts to go all messed up, like you've, had morphine injected into your eye, and you start seeing a load of shit, and it gets really, really crazy. And just ignore this right now. I'm just inverting my controls because that's how I play, and I'm making sure my sensitivity is at the highest it can be, because for some reason a lot of the games these days the sensitivity is always really, really low, and if you can get used to the high ones you will be faster to do things than you normally would, and it's usually very advisable. If you can't get used to it, don't do it. It's that simple. It's whatever you're comfortable with. It's just something I've pretty much always done. And as you move forward here, you pick up the life it's going to introduce you to, picking up life. It is a pretty arbitrary mechanic, but it's in a lot of games. And on the top left you will notice that you have your life bar, you also have a blue shield bar. And how the shield works is it doesn't block physical attacks. Physical attacks will detract from your main life, however bullets will detract your shield. And as long as you have shield, they will not hurt you in any way, they will just drain your shield. As soon as the shield is gone, it will start hitting your health bar. And your shield does regenerate. It all depends on the amount of upgrades you've got put into it, on how fast it goes, and how big the shield is. And it's the exact same concept with your life. If you choose to upgrade your life, you can get more of it, you can make it regenerate over time, and all good things like that. And as I mentioned in the last video, I am going to be running around trying to find all the nooks and crannies, to get as many of those orbs as you've just seen me collecting as possible, because the more upgrade points you've got, the better you are in the long run. And over here is a lovely big stash of orbs to help. And I've also touched on that my upgrade path through this game is going to be slightly different and unique, and all I would say for that is, if it doesn't work for you, don't do it. Because I was actually going to never upgrade my life on this game, and then I did it by accident when I wasn't thinking, and I was just trying to get rid of some points. But fear not, if you can get comfortable with how this game plays, you will not need a full life bar to beat it. In fact, if you can focus on upgrading Monkey's abilities, you will have no problems whatsoever. And just make sure you're checking every nook and cranny, because this game is very deceptive. It has a bit of a fixed camera that you can adjust a little bit every so often. It's just there's a lot of times where when you move into a new area the camera fixes, and it does it on purpose so that you can't see things like that, and it's always trying to hide them off screen. So if you just look about, you'll be surprised what you find. And one of the things that I was kind of, I had trepidations about playing this game. The main reason is a lot of the reviews I read were shitting on the graphics, saying that it has bad graphics, and I do think these graphics on this game, I don't think there's anything wrong with them. I understand that they're not quite up there with the visual fidelity, of Uncharted and things like that, but they're very stylized, and I mean, look at the colour palettes. This is a game that never ceases to be colourful. There's never, a giant, dirty, dogshit brown level and nothing else. There's always like a little hue of blue, or little purple and pink hues, or green hues, and it's just completely vivid at times, and I think that really helps when you play through a game, because if you're playing through a game, for instance, that's as dark and as dull as Jericho, you're not going to have the best time, because everything looks like dog shit, everything looks dark and dreary and grim. But if you're playing through a game like this, you can't help but smile sometimes when you see like a little lens flare from the sun, or a lovely blue sky. But once you press that button, and the icon above the button basically tells you that you have to press it, and if it has Tripp above it, it means she has to press it, and that's something that you're going to see for a lot of the game. But anyhow, here we are in our first real fighting encounter. You'll notice that the other robot wasn't really doing anything while I was fighting. They will attack you at the same time, so do be careful. It's just sometimes they can be very complacent. And the best thing to do when you're fighting is focus on the ones around you instead of the one you're beating up. That's not to say don't look at the guy you're attacking, because eventually he'll block you and he'll counterattack, but when you're attacking and you know your attacks are going to get through, make sure you look around yourself so you don't get cheap-shotted. But when the combat turns up again and it's a little bit more in depth, I will go into the basic strategies on how to beat this game, because once you figure out what you can get away with, what the animations are, it becomes very simple. But for the most, this is just following Tripp around a lot and discovering things. and seeing the lovely little pixelated butterflies. But like, some of the texture work is really, really nice. Don't get me wrong, there are parts of the game that are pretty ugly, purely because, you know, it might have been a neglected texture, or it might be a little bit fuzzy, or a bit of bad modelling, but as a whole, consistently, it carries a really nice visual look, I think, and I don't understand why everybody shit on it. And if you come back after that cutscene, there's going to be a lovely little stash of orbs, which I always remember to grab. But it's Ninja Theory, I think it's Ninja Theory, something like that. I don't know why I want to say Hybrid Theory, that's a goddamn Linkin Park album back before they turned into U2. But it's Ninja Theory that developed this game, and the game they developed before this one was a game called Heavenly Sword, which is on the PS3, and that game looks terrific. The only problem with that game is that A, you have to play it, and B, you have to sit through the fucking loading screens to play it. Because that got very, very monotonous very quickly, that game, because it was just kind of the same thing all the time. And the combat wasn't to my tastes, but they know how to make decent games, they know how to make games that look nice, and I think they did really, really well with Enslaved, and it's actually giving me a lot of hope for Devil May Cry, the new one, because it's in the hands of this development team, and they've proven with this game that they can do good platforming, they can do good storyline, they can do a nice visual aesthetic, and they can also do combat that isn't completely without its merit. Don't get me wrong, the combat on this game is not my favourite because there are flaws in it from you know, a high action game point of view, but it's still quality, it's still a lot of quality. So this right now is an introduction to pretty much a lot of sections of this game where you're going to have to be used as bait to draw fire away from Tripp to get to a turret so that you can disable it. And these turrets will shred you very quickly if they hit you directly. But I'm pretty confident with them now because I've played this game quite a lot. So if you go around the way I did and you beat this guy up, don't worry about him counterattacking you, because this one is very passive. He's only good when he's using his gun. When you're up close, he's just a cream puff. And before you continue, make sure you run around this area. There's going to be another cutscene there, some enemies coming. So let's get into the fighting. I never do the heavy attack unless I know it's going to hit. I always use my block, so they do a 3-hit attack. As soon as he's finished doing his 3 hits, you can attack him. He's open. That guy did it then. And there you go. That's his 3rd hit. Hit him back. You can finish after when he puts his staff down. I think it's on the 4th press of X. That is when you can use your heavy attack, and you will be guaranteed a hit. But if they start blocking you, stop attacking and hold X to charge up your stun move that I keep doing right there. And what that will do is it will go through their block and enable you to smash them with the big attack. But this early encounter is very simple. But the keys to winning, press X, I think it's 4 to 5 times. As soon as you get I'll show you which attack when he does it. Keep blocking. 3, 4, there, that one, 4 times, and then after the 4th you'll notice I press Y to do the heavy attack, then he starts blocking me, so I block, his buddy's coming for me, oh, he gets a cheeky hit off on me, then that was sloppy, but there's the downward one. If you see them blocking when you're doing your attack, stop attacking completely and just charge up your stun move. It's the best thing to do. There's no point attacking the enemy, because all that will happen is he'll keep blocking you and they'll eventually try and counter-attack. But that's your first real fighting encounter. It's not going to come to you straight away because this game is very animation heavy, and because it's so heavy on the animation, it can be difficult to get a response from your character when he's too busy doing his fucking twirls and whirls. But as soon as you get used to it, it does become a lot simpler, and as soon as we get the gun attachment to the pole that we're going to get, it's going to be very, very simple from then on out. But just keep exploring the areas, doing your thing, finding your orbs, and now you've been introduced to the Tripp wheel, or whatever the hell it calls you. It's a command wheel to give her instructions when to move, when to stay, when to distract, all that good stuff. And then the cutscene cuts in now to show us where to go. And I mean, just look at those reds and those oranges. It's just vibrant, and even the inside of this cargo crate, which is rusted over, has still got a lovely like maroon hue to it. Like a burgundy tint. It's just, there's a lot of nice colourful stuff. And this is one of the fixed cameras that I mentioned. There's actually some orbs behind me now that you see when you run across here if you turn the camera around, and I didn't see them then because I was too quick. But if you jump across, you can climb up and there's a big orb stash. But there you go, lifting the shelf up. Right, this is going to show you that Tripp can do an EMP when she's in trouble. The only problem is it takes a while to recharge, so if any enemies get near her after she's used her EMP and it's not recharged, she will die and you will fail. But the EMP is kind of similar to the charge stun move that you do, but it's nowhere near as effective, your stun move, as her EMP is, because her EMP lasts a very long time. And one of the really useful upgrades for Monkey is to make sure that your stun attack hits more than one person. So I would definitely say try and upgrade that one straight away. And the second move that I found invaluable, that I only discovered till really late on my first playthrough, is the super attack. And what the super attack is when you attack an enemy for a certain amount of time, your staff will start glowing gold. And you'll store energy in the staff for as long as you want to do it. And whenever you want, you can press, I think it's Y and B or Y and X, it's one of the two, and he will unleash like a one-hit kill move. And it then becomes this game of chaining the gold staff move. So you beat a guy up, you know now that you have the ability to kill one enemy, so you can then save it for whoever you don't like fighting. And then as soon as you've used it, you beat up the next guy, it charges another one. And it's just this circle and this cycle of getting your charge back, you know, perpetually, and it makes the combat very easy. And I would definitely say buy that as soon as you can, because there are a few situations where there were enemies that I just didn't like, and if I'd have known, it would have made it significantly easier. And right now, I've gone too far, and Tripp is effectively killing me with the headband. So what you've got to do, you get behind this cover, you start shouting out, and then you tell Tripp to move across the gap. What she's going to do is she's going to run while I'm being shot at, and she'll get all the way across here. There she goes, and now she's going upstairs. And these are the mechanics you're going to be doing for the rest of the game, because a lot of this is about distraction and, you know, just conning people into watching you while she's doing her thing. And then there's the mild bits of combat, there's the mild puzzles, and then there's the plethora of action and combat. But right now, I'm trying to use her ability to distract for me, but it's not giving it her yet for some reason. And then magically, it's there. But when you do it, it's going to force a cutscene to show you what's happening, and then you have to bolt. So if you run across here, you jump across the gap. And you've got to be really careful on these bits, because there are two turrets shooting at you, and these two turrets will kill you so quickly if you're not careful. But if you look down in the bottom left corner, that bar that's going round that says decoy, as soon as decoy lights up like that and the bar completes, that means she can do it again. But I'm currently shouting so that she can get across and get to this door, but there's no way she's going to be able to hack it with all these turrets, so that's where we come in. So Andy Serkis is already doing his gruff voice and telling us what to do. We need now for her to do the distraction so that we can jump across here. And be careful when you're down here, because the turrets, like I say, they are death machines when they get you in the open. And there is a lovely cache of orbs down here that I'm probably going to get a few of. I would say don't do this at this time when the turrets are still active. Come back and do it once you've killed them. It makes it significantly easier, and you don't have to, you know, get your shit pushed in like I just did. And sometimes it can be difficult to see where you're supposed to climb to, so always look for a piece of object that's glinting. I know it sounds obvious, but sometimes they can be really challenging to see, especially those... Ooh, this is a bad situation to be in. Thank goodness she saved my ass then. And the motivation behind that is, when I was on a pole, watch this, if they come out of the distraction while you're on a pole, they can't see you. But if they see you get on the pole, they can see you and they can shoot you, which makes no sense to me. And I'm waiting now for the decoy to recharge. As soon as it recharges, I'm going to tell her to do it, and then I'm going to continue on. So as long as you take your time and as long as you're not reckless, these aren't too difficult. But when I first got here, I got really impatient. I really didn't know what I was doing, and I died a few times. But I'm just going to sit again, wait for the decoy to recharge. I'm not even going to mess with those turrets at this range, because my life's pretty low and they will strip your shield in seconds. And there you go, the decoy goes up, I run through the gap, and then I can start killing the turrets. And as I've said, these guys up close are absolute pussies, so just beat on them as best you can. I generally do maybe 3 to 4 X's and then the 2 Y's. So there's the 3 or 4 X's, there's the Y, and then he's dead. And that's all cleared out. So now you can go back and get all those caches that we were missing before, and search for any more secret orbs, and then progress through to the next section of the level. But the platforming on this, I actually went back to Castlevania after playing this game, and the platforming on this is almost automatic. It's almost like you're watching gymnasts do what they do. It is beautiful. It is so effortless, it's so fluid, it's so enjoyable. A lot of people might call it basic and boring because you're not actually doing that much and there's no real potential to fall off, but that is the perfect platforming to me. It's when I have the least control and I love it. I went back to play Castlevania and I must have died about 5 times on the most easy jumping section just because the paradigms, these tropes that have been set ever since like the fucking Mario days for platforming, as far as controls are, you know, engaged, completely changed for Castlevania just to be assholes, just to make you fall off. It's like you do not. Oh, I'm not even getting into it. Not even getting into it. I'm just going to start shit talking it again. And I did enough shit talking in that guide. But if you come back across this bridge and you jump across to that girder and then climb up this lovely pipe, you will find another little batch of orbs. Nothing too impressive, but every bit helps. That is impressive though on the end. That is a nice big stash. And once you're confident you've cleared this out, you can go to the door that Tripp is opening and you can progress onwards. And yeah, I should have probably got some water before I started speaking for 20 solid fucking minutes because I can feel my throat drying as I talk. The flow of this game as well is a little bit disjointed when it comes to level lengths because the first video in this series of Chapter 1 was like 10 minutes long as a nice introductory, and then this is a 2-part, like 40-minute episode, so it's kind of weird, it's kind of up and down, and don't worry if you think they're all going to be super long, because they aren't, they're just not. There's a handful that are longer than others, and there's a few that are really, really quick. But this one is definitely one of the longer ones, purely because it's introducing you to a lot of new things, and there's a lot of unskippable moments like right now. But instead of talking about this section, because it's very simple, it doesn't need much explaining, it's just introducing you to the equivalent of a UAV mechanic that's going to be cropping up in the future. I'm going to talk about a film that I watched last night because I just thought it was going to be a simple, feel-good comedy, and it kind of was, but at the same time, I really enjoyed it because there was a lot of, you know, subtext and undercurrent and themes that I've actually felt myself, and it was all set on a lovely 80s background, and it's a film that's called Take Me Home Tonight. It was made in 2011, and it stars a guy called Topher Grace, I'm not too sure of his name, and he's the main protagonist, and he plays he's just graduated from his college, and he went to MIT, because he's really, really good with numbers, and he came out with, you know, a good grade and everything, and he's gone to working in a video store because he doesn't know what to do with his life. And his sister is just like him. His twin sister is played by Anna Faris, who's from Scary Movie and a few other films. She's really, really smart as well, but her life is kind of on track because she's marrying, she's going out with this really dumb, you know, like fucking football jock kind of guy, and they're moving into a condo, and she doesn't know, but during the course of this night he's going to be proposing to her, and her life seems to be going everywhere. And the main character also has a friend who's kind of like the incompetent comedy relief, who's played by Dan Fogler, who is absolutely amazing in this film and really, really funny. And if you don't know who he is, he was the main character in Balls of Fury. He was also the Rush fan in Fanboys, and he's actually in a Typo Negative video, the I Don't Want to Be video, if you've seen him before. He's kind of short and fat with curly hair, but he's a really good actor and he's funny as shit. And they're kind of this triage of friends, and it's all about this one night where they go to a party. This is more based around the two friends than the sister, because she's not as a focal point, but they decide to act instead of overthinking things. So they end up stealing a car from the place where a guy gets fired from earlier in the movie. They end up finding cocaine in the glove compartment, and just going on an interesting adventure through this party that they wouldn't normally be at. And it's all set during the 80s, so there's ridiculous hair, there's ridiculous, you know, outfits and crazy shoulder pads, and it's really funny, and it's just an enjoyable film. And it's got even a lovely cameo from Michael Byhan, who plays his father, who's a police officer, who's in a really interesting scene where they pretend to arrest him, and they're both shit in the pants because they crashed this car and they're covered in cocaine. And it's just, I don't know, I'd never even heard of it, and I picked it up and I thoroughly enjoyed it because I think it's a situation that a lot of people can relate to, where you went to college and you went to university and all those kind of things, and you kind of thought it was going to tell you where you were going to go for the rest of your life. You kind of thought when you came out you'd know exactly what you wanted to do with yourself, but you go there, you spend that time, you come out with your grade, and you still don't know anything more. And it's just one of those universal themes that everybody in their lifetime that goes through it is going to feel that sensation. And I just thought it was a really cool film, and I enjoyed it a lot, and I would recommend it because there's this really good scene where his friend ends up taking some cocaine, and he's being really confident and dancing and being all crazy and that, and he likes older women, so he's going for the cougars. And this one older ginger woman comes over to him, and she's basically asking him if he's carrying any drugs, and he's carrying the bit of cocaine that they found in the car. And she basically takes him into this bathroom, and they start getting it on. They do a couple lines of cocaine, they start kissing, and then the man that she was with walks into the room as well. He's kind of like this older guy, really tall, wearing this like leather suit that's like a one piece. It looks ridiculously funny. And she starts like undressing and grabbing his hand and putting it on her titty and stuff, and starting rubbing him up, and he's like, "But what's going on here?" kind of thing. There's that guy there, and she's like, "Don't worry, he just wants to watch." And he gets really weirded out by it, and he goes along with it anyway, and it just goes so crazy and so fucking stupid by the end of it. I was in tears. It was really, really funny. But yeah, check it out. Take Me Home Tonight. It's a lovely 80s kind of comedy about being young, being confused. It's cool. Pretty similar to the events of American Graffiti, but you know, not quite as tasteful. Anyhow, back to the game. This is coming to the end of the first part of the level, but if you touch those orange rings, you instantly die. And unfortunately, because Monkey's so heavy when it comes to animation frames, it can be very easy to walk into the fucking mines. I actually had to plug in my wired pad, which Analog doesn't stray, to play this section of the game, because there is no way I could do this on my pad. I would be so far off to the left, we would be seeing game over screens every 10 seconds. But you don't have to go that way to get those orbs if you don't want to risk it. You can just carry on through the left. But this is an interesting section, this, because you're going to be guiding Tripp around this area, and unfortunately, if you stray too far off the path that she wants you to go on, you will die. So it's kind of bullshitty, but it's an interesting mechanic, and it's an interesting little arena because there's loads of crashed cars, and there's like a highway that's all crumbled, as you can see. And I don't know, I just really do like this future, this you know, this apocalyptic dystopian future of this rundown, you know, machines have run rot and humanity is dwindling kind of ideal. It's really cool. But the first thing you need to do is you need to get Tripp up to the platform that's above the area that you spawn. But it can be quite harder said than done, because it doesn't really signpost exactly where you're supposed to go. So I go up this top area. But this is the end of the video, guys, so thanks for watching. I hope it's helping, and I'll see you in part 2. You take care now.